passed BTech IT with an 80%, and then started my career with TCS. So started as a Java developer, and then moved on to an Azure cloud project, on which I am currently working on, and where the role is of a technical lead. So leading a team of 7 members. So we are working completely on Azure PaaS technologies, and also leading the managing and leading Azure DevOps team as well. So in the Azure, we are completely working on Azure PaaS components like IoT Hub, Stream Analytics, Service Bus Queue, storage queue, APIM, Cosmos DB, etc. And in Azure DevOps, using the Azure DevOps, we are managing the CA and CD. We have automated the deployment and also use the SAM template for this infrastructure as a code. So I hope it was very quick.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we go to some technical questions? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Can you first we go for Azure, then we will go to Java. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So can you list out the services and components in the Azure portal? So what are the services available?
Sorry, can you please come again? In Azure portal?
Yeah, in Azure portal, what are the services available in Azure portal?
Yes, so in the Azure portal, ours is an IoT based project where the project is mainly handling the data, live data being sent from the gateway, and we have this live data being shown in our dashboard application which we have developed. So achieve that particular for our project, what we have worked is like this IoT hub we have worked, which receives the data. Then it goes to an Azure functions, that is an app service. Then from the Azure function, it goes to the service bus queue. And we have different Azure functions listening to the messages which are being stored in the service bus queue. And from the Azure functions, the data gets stored to the Azure Cosmos DB. So that is one flow. And Event Hub output to which our Stream Analytics is an input. Event Hub is the input of Stream Analytics. So that Event Hub output is going to a Node.js web app, which is a socket, and this socket is being listened by our UI application, and the data is being shown in the our dashboard. So these were the services, and we have an offline flow as well, which uses this blob storage where the data is being uploaded as a file, and then it is moved from blob to the ADLS using an Azure Data Factory. And we also have Azure Data Factory and ADLA, which manipulates and generates the data report being generated for the sensor data requested, which is being sent as a mail using the SendGrid mail server in Azure Functions. So that is another flow. And in Azure, we also uses API management, where we are exposing a few APIs which we have developed to our customers, where they are hitting and getting the data directly from our Cosmos DB, and the backend is our SQL server. So these were the services which are currently being used in our project.
Okay, super. Okay. So you are aware of blob storage? So
yes.
Yeah, what are the types?
So, in the blob storage, we have containers. You mentioned like a hot, cool, archive, tier, or In the blobs, we have this containers, tables, queues, files, and all. So we are mainly using containers in the storage account for various purposes within our project.
Okay. Can we store any file or any specific file?
In blob, we can store any sort of files.
Okay.
I mean, in the containers, yes.
Okay. So, what is the purpose of SAS token?
Yes. So the SAS token is used mainly for the security purposes, wherein we can generate a SAS token for a container, wherein we specify the expiry and all. So whatever file I told, like a mail will be sent to the customer. So we had a requirement like this file should not be accessible for everyone. So the SAS token will be generated, and this SAS token will be attached to the URL and to the in the mail to which it is sent to the customer. So if the SAS token is not provided, then it will be an authentication failure. If the SAS token is given in that URL, then the file will be the user will be able to download it.
Okay, fine. So, aware of key vault?
Yes.
Yeah, can you explain what is the purpose?
Yes. So the key vault is used mainly for storing the secrets. For example, if the web application has an FTP username and password, and we want it accessible from our pipelines. So in the DevOps pipeline and all, we specify in the key vault we can have a key name and a value. So this key vault will be added as a task, and this key vault variable name will be used in our release pipeline. And we can also enable this managed identity, wherein this only the key vault variable name will be specified in the web app settings. So that web app will be directly accessing the key vault for accessing that particular secrets. So it is mainly used for secrets, and we can have these certificates also uploaded in a key vault, which can be used in our application. So in the application, we have the certificate generation flow for accessing our gateway. So in which there is an intermediate certificate which is generated from the root certificate. So that intermediate certificate is kept securely in the key vault, and the code from the Azure functions, we are accessing that intermediate certificate and generating the leave certificate. So that was another use case for key vault.
Okay, good. So, what is Azure Load Balancer? What is the use?
Yeah, Azure load balancer is mainly used to manage the traffic which is hitting the app services. So suppose like this Azure load balancer, if it's not there, if there are multiple instances for our application, then if load balancer is not there, then one instance can get all the requested and it can become like overloaded. So the load balancer properly maps the request to the instances depending on the load or whether the instance is working, I mean available or not. So all this being managed by this load balancer.
Okay. So how do you maintain the log analytics in Azure? For example, we deploy in the application for VM, for example, like Java application. So
yes.
Yeah, how do you maintain the log?
Yeah, yes. So ours is a Java application. So in that web app, we have enabled application insights.
Okay.
So we in that all the logs are being captured in that web app insights of that particular web app. Okay. So we can, using the Kusto query, we can query the app insights, and we can generate alerts and all. I mean, if a particular error occurs, then we can create the alerts and alert rule from that app insights, and it can be either sent to a mail or logged as an issue in the DevOps as well. So that is one thing which we are doing in our project right now.
Okay. Okay. So we have created one virtual machine. So you allocated some size. Okay. Suppose the maximum size it is crossed. Then what happened in the virtual machine?
This virtual machine we are not currently using in our project.
Okay.
We are completely working on Azure PaaS services. So VMs I am not that much familiar.
Okay.
But given an opportunity, I can learn that as well. There is no issue.
That's fine. Just asking you. No issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you know that Azure SQL database.
Yes, backend of our application is Azure SQL.
Yeah.
So in the Azure SQL, we have enabled a sync between different servers as well.
Okay.
So that is one thing which we are doing, and we have also enabled this runbook automation to see whether, since this sync does not have this log analytics which we just discussed. So we have ourselves written a script to check whether, to capture all the logs on DB sync and move into this log analytics using this runbook automation.
Okay.
So that is one use case which we have done in the SQL.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you explain Azure DevOps? Then how do you create that pipeline, and how do you make CD and CI?
Sure.
Explain,
To explain, to move into Azure DevOps,
Okay.
we are following an agile methodology where we have having a 2-week sprint. Suppose like in the starting of a sprint, we took up a story, and we will discuss like how the story is moved into prod using this DevOps. So the first point which we will do is from the DevOps, from the master, we have 3 branches in in the DevOps. That is dev feature, dev release branch and the master branch. So the master branch will be a copy of whatever code which we have, which is currently running in prod. So to start a sprint, we will be creating a branch from the master branch, and the development which we have to do, we will do in this feature branch. And this feature branch is we do the local testing of the code we have done in the feature branch, and later it is merged to the dev branch. So in the dev branch, we have enabled the build validation pipeline, which basically ensures that a breakable code is not being merged to dev, and we have approvers as well. For the PR, and once the PR is approved and the build validation succeeds, we have this build pipeline run, which has CA enabled from the dev branch getting triggered. So in the build pipeline, we have this task for the sonar cube, which ensures the quality of the code, that is the code coverage. Code coverage, then what we say, this bugs, vulnerabilities, issues and all. So if this quality gate is met, and also we have this white source bolt task enabled, which scans the vulnerabilities on the open source dependencies we have added, and if high is not there and this quality gate is passed, and also this Maven task completes, we have a deployable artifact being generated. And once the artifact is ready, we have a CD enabled in our release pipeline, which from the dev branch, the deployment happens to our dev environment, where the developers himself will ensure all the scenarios are being met, and whatever the PO has mentioned in the user story is also met. So once the developer testing is completed, the dev branch is merged to the release branch, which again has the code approvers in the release branch, because it is from the release branch the code is getting moved to the higher environments. Okay, and once the release branch From the release branch, the build pipeline, the CI is enabled and the deployable artifact is created similar to that from the dev branch. And in the release pipeline, the difference is like we have this higher environments, that is UAT environment and prod environment in place. So in the UAT environment, the QA, we have pre-approvers like the Scrum Master and all who will approve the artifact to the UAT environment, and it's in the UAT environment the QA team does the testing. And once they are done with the testing,
Okay.
they approve it and it is moved to the prod, where we have this client architect who will approve that artifact to the prod, and the feature will be moved to the prod environment.
Okay.
So this is how we have done CA and CV currently.
Yeah, good, fine. Have you worked with Kubernetes?
Yes, I have worked with Azure Kubernetes services recently.
Okay, okay. Then what is the purpose? So
Yeah, Kubernetes is
lot of tools available like JMS or like that older. Then what is the purpose of Kubernetes?
yeah, Kubernetes is basically manages different containers. I mean, different containers can be deployed as pods within a node in the Kubernetes services. So the main advantage is like the backend of this containers can be different. Everything can be managed in a single Kubernetes services. So we have this microservices getting deployed as containers to the AKS, and it is this AKS endpoint that is being consumed by our API management.
Okay.
So that is one thing which we are currently doing.
Okay, okay. You know Docker?
Yes, so the microservices which I just mentioned, we are generating as a Docker image which is getting uploaded to the blog. So that Docker image is getting used in the AKS.
Okay. So how do you start your application using Docker? Any command? Just give me a syntax.
Command by a Docker run.
Okay.
Then we have this Docker start.
Okay. So how do you kill your images, Docker images?
Kill.
Suppose we don't want one application, so at the time we want to kill, right? Then we'll.
There is a Docker stop or a Docker kill command is there, I think.
Okay.
With this image ID, we can do.
Okay. Fine. So, have you worked with web services?
Web service. The previously I had worked with this Spring Boot and all.
Okay.
In my previous experience.
Okay. Mostly you moved into Azure, right? In current.
Yes.
Okay. Fine. So I will ask you next to move to Spring Boot. Okay.
Yeah.
So previously most of them used Spring MVC. So why most of the people moved into Spring Boot? So what is the internal functionality in Spring Boot? Can you explain?
The knowledge which I am having is like dependency management is much better in Spring Boot, I guess.
Okay.
So that is one thing, and this in the Spring Boot, as far as I remember, we can have this annotations. Which helps us in the dependency injections.
Okay.
So that's what I know.
Okay, okay. You have knowledge, right? Spring Boot.
Sorry.
Yes, you have knowledge, right? Spring Boot.
Yes, yes, I have worked with Spring Boot. Yes.
Okay, okay. So, what is actuator in Spring Boot?
Uh, Actuator. I'm not able to recollect that.
Okay, okay, okay. What is the use of at the rate of Spring Boot application annotation?
These annotations are basically used for this dependency injection.
Okay.
I mean, in the Spring Boot and all, if we use this at controller annotation and all, which helps the Spring Boot identify that it is a controller. I mean, the endpoint, the entry point where which will have this endpoints and all defined,
Okay.
which will be hit from the UI.
Okay.
So this at controller, then we can have this then this at get mapping, at post mapping and all, which specify what type of request is that.
Okay.
Then we can have this at valid annotation and all, which is used for the spring validations.
Okay.
At min, at max, which validates the parameters and all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So can we by default in the Spring Boot server it's Tomcat. So can you change any other servers? Is it possible?
That I haven't done yet.
Okay. So what is the use of at request mapping annotation?
Yeah, at request mapping annotation is basically used at in the controller class, I guess.
Okay.
So it is used for like the inputs which we are receiving in the controller.
Okay. So can we change the port by default 8080? Can we change the port like instead of 8080?
Yes. That we can change in the configuration file. We can specify a different port.
Okay. Okay. What is that attribute name?
That is I mean this minus port, like that we can specify.
Okay. Okay. So how do you configure the database in your Spring Boot application? So
Uh, uh, yes, like in the Spring Boot application, we can have this SQL Client Factory.
okay.
So in the SQL Client Factory, we can specify the database username, password, and create the database object,
Okay.
which can be used to query the database and all.
Okay. Okay. So logger. So
Yes.
yeah.
Logger.info, logger.error,
Okay.
logger.debug,
Okay.
and all.
Okay. Okay. So,
That are the different levels.
okay. So what is response entity?
Response entity is, when we are hitting a request,
Okay.
like if we want to specify in the response entity class, we can specify different HTTP statuses,
Okay.
like for not for or not found or error, like that.
Okay.
So in that response entity class, we can specify that.
Okay. So how to handle exception? Like previously Java used try catch, but here Spring Boot. Then how to handle the exceptions?
In the I mean, from the DAO layer, if we can have a generic exception and all, we will throw it from the DAO layer to the services layer, and from the to the controller, and from the controller, the Spring has an exception handling class, wherein we can specify like if this sort of exception has arrived, then what is the logic which we want to handle. For example, we can have like our own exceptions, like if a generic exception which says like this database not reachable and all, like that. In the generic exception, the actual response like a bad request or the proper mapping can be done in the exception handling class.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Aware of Spring security?
No.
No. Okay. Have you worked with Spring JPA?
No, not it.
Okay. Oh, fine. Just I'm asking you.
Yeah.
A repository. At the rate of upper the repository, what is the purpose? Do you aware of that one?
At repository, yes, I have seen it.
Okay. Fine.
At repository, I have seen it. Sorry, I'm not able to recollect that.
Okay, fine. Have you worked with Hibernate? I saw your profile.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned Hibernate, I think.
Yes, so the backend coding which we are using is Hibernate for accessing the database and all. So there, I mean, if we have to take a condition-based filtering and all, then we can use this predicates and all, and also that is how we have used it right now.
Okay, so what is the difference between session and session factory?
In session factory. Difference I don't know, but in the code we have used this session factory.
Okay. What's the use of dialect?
DB dialect, right?
Yeah, dialect, yes.
Yeah, it's in the DB dialect. We specify this DBO like that. We are specifying in the DB dialect.
Okay. Can you list out what are the different mappings available in Hibernate?
Different mappings in the sense?
Like Hibernate mapping, like you're aware of mapping?
With the name, I might have done, but with name, I'm not able to recollect.
Okay. Like one-to-one, many-to-many.
Yeah, yes. So, like in the database and all, we have a one-to-one relationship, and one class will have multiple dependencies.
Okay.
So that we can mention in our Hibernate framework. I mean this Ovarian Framework, wherein we mention the type of relation between the classes which we have to join.
Okay.
Can you just give me one second?
Yeah, continue with mapping.
Yes. So this in the Ovarian Framework, we can mention like what is we have suppose like a master table depending on multiple tables.
Okay.
Then we can say like what type of join like this belongs to, or the type of mapping we can specify in that Ovarian Framework.
Okay. So you know that method get and load. So what's the difference?
Sorry?
So what's the difference get and load method?
No, that I am not aware of.
Okay. So we know aware of criteria API, criteria queries.
Yes. In the project we are using criteria queries.
Yeah. Can you list out some functions?
Like in the criteria queries, we can have this criteria builder is used, and in the criteria queries, we can have select queries, or can have this criteria query dot different functions like and, then or like that. Then we can have predicates in that.
Okay.
So that is how we have used.
Okay. So you know aware of that set first result method, set max results.
Set max result. Like if we are if we want only one result, then we can set max result of one, and we can also fetch this get unique result and all. So if a set max result is not set and we are trying to fetch unique result, then it will throw an exception. So we usually set max result of one, and then we fetch the data.
Okay. So what's the purpose of set parameter function?
Set parameter. That I don't remember actually.
So
The set parameter is like if you are trying to fetch a value and we want the value to be, for example, this active tag or enabled as one and all, we can then set the column name like that and set the value, so that only that value will be fetched, the records matching that.
Okay. So can you explain different type of caching?
Sorry?
Can you explain the different types of Hibernate caching?
Hibernate caching, that I am not that much aware of.
Okay. Because first level and second level.
Sorry, I don't have much knowledge in that.
Okay. So how do you apply pagination query in Hibernate?
Like we set the number of pages, and we set what is the how many amount is required. Like set page number as 1, and we set the number of rows as 5. Then the first 5 records will be set, and then we set the page number as 2. Then the 5 records, then the next 5 records will be fetched. Like that.
Lakshmi, give him a minute. Work on call. Give him a minute, Lakshmi.
Yeah.
Hi Lakshmi, sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay. So, but we mostly work Hibernate, right?
Sorry?
Yeah, you work Hibernate, you will manage, right?
Yes.
Okay. Apart from that, you mostly worked Azure, so I'm also Azure, not a master. Okay.
No problem.
Okay. In the DB itself, you know that you mentioned the store procedure. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the store procedure? What is the usage of?
Yeah. In the stored procedure, like if we want a set of activities to be done by the set of activities to be performed, like rather than just a single query. If we want some processing to be done, then we invoke the stored procedure.
Okay.
So in the stored procedure, we first create a stored procedure, then we will do all the required, like if we want to iterate and all, we create cursors, and the cursor will start having each row based on the query which we are having, and based on that we can create the output whatever we want and return back to the code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is trigger?
Trigger in the sense of
In the DB itself, trigger and index.
Yes, in the trigger, it's like suppose like we had a requirement, like whenever a data gets inserted to the this table, we want I mean whenever a record with that particular value get inserted to the DB, a trigger can get triggered. And these indexes are mainly used for improving the performances. So whatever I mean in the SQL server, in the Azure SQL server, we can automatically enable this indexes. So the Azure itself will create and drop these indexes based on the query structure and the usage while accessing the data. So that is one use case which I have seen.
Okay. So can you tell me the difference of primary key and foreign key?
Yes, primary key is primary key means uniquely identifies a particular record in a table.
Okay.
For example, they say an employee table has employee ID and employee name. So employee ID if set as primary key, then it will not be repeating. It's like a constraint. And for the foreign key is like I have a employee table and a department table where it has employee name and department ID. And we have another table, department ID and department name. So this department ID in the employee table will be the foreign key, which is referencing a value in the another department table. So it is like a constraint. If we try to insert a department ID which is not in the department table, then it will throw an error.
Okay. So in the join concept, so what's the use of a right join and a left join?
Yeah, the join is like used to join a particular table based on the common things which they have. For example, in the previous example, we explained like employee and department. So the department ID is join left join employee with department on employee.department ID equal to department.department ID. And if it is a left join, then the table which is in the left side, that is the employee, will be returned by default. And if it is a right join, the whole data which is in the right side of the join, that is the department side, will be returned as the response.
Okay. So coming to move to Java. Okay. So
Yeah.
I directly move to Java 8. Okay. So can you list out the new features in Java 8? So can you tell me?
Java 8, I have worked is with using streams. I have worked with then using this filters and all. Then like sort based on a column. So what I felt as an advantage is like the lines of code has got reduced in case of Java 8. Whatever logic which we used to write in a number of lines is now written in a less number of lines. So that is one advantage of Java 8. That is what I have felt.
Okay. You aware of filter?
Sorry?
Filter. You aware of filter? Java 8 filters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the filter use case was like I had to do I have fetched the data from the DB. and I had to filter like the list was query dot list was responding. Giving back a list of responses.
Okay.
In that I had to filter based on this. I want to return the sensor details who has this active flag as one. So in the filter I mentioned like dot filter x colon x, this arrow symbol x equal to dot equal to 1, then only that data will be returned to the list.
Okay. Okay. So some scenario based questions, okay, using Java 8. Okay, so we have user list in the array list. Okay, for example, 100 user list. So each user object have like username and role name, age, then like other address, like that, each user object. So I want to grouping them by role name. Then how did you write the code? How did you write the logic?
Sorry, can you please come again?
Yeah, we have user list. In the user list contains 100 users. So each user object have username, role name, and user ID, like that. So I want to grouping them the 100 users by role name.
Okay. Okay.
How did you write the logic?
Okay. I think in Java 8 there is one feature like group by, I guess.
Okay.
Based on like in the list, first we need to convert it as a stream, and then as far as I remember there is one function called group by,
Okay.
wherein we can specify in the stream based on what we have to group by.
Okay.
So yeah, that is what I can remember.
Okay. Okay. So in the Java 8, so why they are enhanced Java Data Time API? So what is the purpose?
Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay. What is optional?
Optional, we can use this optional to just a second, optional, it says like suppose if you are trying to fetch a particular value which can have null values and all. If we specify it as optional, then it says like it can have null values as well. So like that is what I remember.
Okay. Okay. What is filter map?
Filter map.
Sorry, filter not filter map. Flat map. Sorry.
Okay, flat map. Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay. You know that string joiner? What's the use?
Yeah, string dot join. Yes, I have used it. Is it for combining two strings? I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the use of functional interface?
Functional interface. No, I'm not able to recollect that.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me the difference between hash set and tree set?
In the hash set and tree set, in the tree set, this order is maintained, which is not there in hash set.
Okay. can you tell me the internal functionality of hash map, internal flow, then how it is working in the
Yeah. So in the hash map, it is the internal mapping is basically done based on this hashing algorithms.
Okay.
So whenever we the hash map has a key and a value.
Okay.
So whenever I mean we are trying to insert a value, this corresponding what we say hash map is internally using this hash set itself. So every key will have a hash value for each of the record it has. So it is based on this hash value, every operation is being done in a hash map.
Okay. So what is the default size of object in the hash map?
Default size and all, I don't know.
Okay. You know load factor value?
Sorry?
Load factor value, hash map load factor value.
No, I don't remember those these days.
Okay, fine. Yeah, fine, Lakshmi. So
Okay.
I covered based on your resume. So, apart from that, I didn't ask other thing. So
Sorry?
I asked most of the thing based on your resume. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine. So maybe Divya, she will call you. So she will give status for you. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thanks for your
Okay.
time and
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.